Hello everybody, my name is Melody Harper, and I'm going to be playing Moonlight Walks. This is a game actually created using RenPy, which is awesome. So I'm really looking forward to playing this, and I hope you guys enjoy. It was the summer before I started college. I had spent the past 2 years studying, taking tests, and applying for admissions. Now, for the first time in a while, I had a little downtime, so I decided to take the opportunity to explore America. But since I was broke, my plans were quickly scaled down to spending the summer with my aunt and uncle on a small island known as North Sand Island. North Sand Island was a barrier island in the Atlantic Ocean. It was remote enough that there wasn't even a bridge to it, just a ferry that ran a few times a day. Being on such a small island, there wasn't all that much to do. But the solitude was nice, and I found ways to pass the time. One thing I did was take pictures with my digital camera. On the night of the full moon, I decided what I wanted to capture was the moonrise. So I went out to the beach just before the moon came up, set my camera on a tripod, and locked in the appropriate shutter speed and f-stop. Every few seconds as the moon rose, I used the remote that came with my camera to snap another frame showing the moon, its reflection in the water. It only took a few minutes for the moon to rise over the horizon, but I kept it off for a while longer. Finally, I was done. I started packing up my camera and tripod to get ready to head back to my aunt and uncle's house. That's when I saw her, in the distance. I could see someone else walking down the beach. I could tell it wasn't... Sorry. I could tell it was probably a girl or woman from the long white dress she wore. But from that distance, it was hard to tell anything else about her. I decided to stay a bit longer to see who it was. In all the times I had gone out stargazing, I'd never met someone just walking around on the beach in the middle of the night. At that late hour, most people were either at home or in town with another person. You hardly saw people out by themselves. The only time I saw someone on the beach at night would be when they were watching the stars or the satellites go by. But those people stay still and look up at the sky, while this girl was walking down the ground, looking at the ground in front of her, watching where she was going. I ran through a number of crazy scenarios in my head. Maybe she had some disease that meant she couldn't be out in the sun. Maybe she was looking for buried treasure. It only took me a few seconds to dismiss these. What was the chances of them actually happening? I waited for a while as she slowly made her way down to the beach. I didn't think such a slow walk could be exercise, but had no idea what else she could be doing out there. Finally, she was close enough that I could get a good look at her using the telegraph lens on my camera. She was the most beautiful girl I'd ever seen. She was around my age, a year or two younger or older at the most, and in perfect shape. Her skin was flawless, if a bit pale, and her hair was very white, almost as white as the long dress she was wearing. Together, the combination of pale skin, light hair, and white dress made her seem to glow in the moonlight. She was a fair ways off, and I was pretty sure she hadn't seen me, and knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to take a picture, or I knew I wanted to talk to her, or either two. I'd say talk to her. As the girl walked this way, I decided the best thing to do was to put my camera away and wait for her to come closer. I didn't want to scare her away by running towards her, or have to do a shot over the ocean waves. She reminds me of Mir. After I had patiently waited for what must have been 20 minutes, she finally walked close enough so that I could talk to her with a reasonable voice. Hello. Maybe it wasn't the most eloquent lines, but it was all I could think of at the time, and it got the job done. She stopped and looked at me as if waiting for me to say something else. It's a nice night. It's warm, but it's not really all that hot. She nodded at this, but didn't say anything. I finally decided to cut to the chase and ask her the question on my mind. So, what are you doing out here? Walking. Just walking? In the middle of the night? Yes. Are you going anywhere in particular? I walked around the island following the beaches. The island wasn't that big. I could go around it in a few hours, maybe a little more if I stopped for a break. I'd have no problems keeping up with her. Mind if I walk with you? If that's what you want. I decided that I'd bring my camera with me, but I hid my tripod in a bag in the dunes. It only took a few seconds, and we quickly started walking down the beach. We walked in silence for a while, until we could no longer see where we were started. I looked back anyway, and saw only our footprints breaking up the sand on the beach. Walking was great, but I needed to try talking to this girl. I decided to see if I could find out why she was walking at night. So, she stopped and looked at me. Is there any reason why we're walking down the beach at night? It's something to do. I see. Do you do this often? It seems like I do this every day. Do you always walk alone, or do other people come with you? Usually I'm walking by myself, but once in a while I meet someone else, and sometimes they decide to walk with me. It's only happened a few times, though, and I don't think anyone has asked me many times, or as many questions as you. I didn't know how to take this, and we stood in silence for a second. Finally, she let out a small laugh and smiled, and took the initiative. What were you doing out there? I didn't think she was interested in me, so it took me a second to respond to her question. Seeing my hesitation, she elaborated. I think we both agree that it's rare to meet someone else on the beach at this time of night. So, what were you doing over there? It took me another second to think back to what I was doing, but I finally answered her. I'm into astronomy. Well, stargazing, really. I was out taking digital photos of the moon as it rose. She looked at me questioningly, as if she didn't know what I was talking about. I found that a little odd, as I thought everyone knew what a digital camera was. I decided to show her my camera, or decided to show her the moon. I decided the easiest way to explain was to show her some of the pictures I'd taken, so I pulled my camera out of its case and turned it on. I switched it to displaying pictures and called up one of the latest pictures I had taken, one which showed the full disc. Oh, I should have taken her picture. The full disc of the moon. I held the camera to the girl to let her see the pictures on its screen. She took a good look at it, turned to take a look at the moon and the sky, and then took another long look at the screen. The moon it's so small. I didn't know exactly what she was trying to get at here. The pictures are small here, but they look much bigger on the computer screen. I tried explaining, but it just seemed to confuse her even more, so I decided to change the topic. Did you grow up around here? I did. When I was growing up, there wasn't all these houses and buildings on the island. The only thing on the island were farms, and the farms were huge. Only 4 families lived here, and between us, we owned all the land on the island. My family was one of the 4. We owned the southern end of the island, where we first met. We hadn't cleared out our land, but we had a huge enough farm that we could grow the food we needed and sell some at the market. I didn't know this island's population was so small, so recently I knew that tourism could grow a population, but so quickly. Did you go to school on the mainland then? Once in a while, when we took the ferry over to sell our produce, we would spend a few days in the school being tested. But most of the time we were homeschooled. Mama would teach us reading and writing, and Papa would teach us math and things. Aw, that's so cute. At least before they died.